right? And then you can see the large chain reaction where like generally there's just more negative effects than positive ones, right? But
Okay,
if you
so
take
I
the
have
case of like,
I have a question.
go ahead.
Okay. So whenever it comes to like, it seems like you're going for a utilitarian view, right?
Yeah, I'm fine with that granting it temporarily, but I'm not a utilitarian.
Okay, I mean, I honestly don't think that my position hinges on utilitarianism. It's just something that like I wanted to introduce as a framework.
I mean, I can give you my normative ethical system and the sort of things I value, right? And then maybe you can give a critique of that or something.
Um, I don't really think that's necessary quite yet. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
so whenever you start to whenever somebody is raped and all
Mm-hmm.
of these net factors build up, like
Mm-hmm.
why do you think that it is bad for this person to experience these net factors, whatever they may
Well,
be?
I mean, look, I think that's
Why
a
do you say that
category
these net
error.
factors themselves are bad?
Yeah, I think
Well,
that's a category error because what I mean when I say bad is just it causes negative or it acts against my preferences, right? So whenever you ask me why is getting negative experiences bad, it's like asking me why is a football? It's like, well, I can't really there's nothing really much I can tell you about that, right? Like you then begin to start talking about my meta ethics, right? Which isn't too relevant, right? In this sort of conversation. Like I just think typically at least the sort of motivation I can give you for now is just the reason why I think the reason why I think like negative valences are bad or giving someone negative valences without a future larger positive consequences. It clashes against most people's intuitions, right? And again, unless you'd have to be committing yourself to the view that most people's intuitions are like immensely confused for your sort of view to work, which would just be intellectual arrogance, right?
I don't think the intuition is um I think the intuition can be true. Like you can have true intuitions, but I don't think that we should just assume that people's intuitions are uh inherently carrying some kind of truth to us.
I mean,
Um
maybe you could say that like sometimes you can be skeptical of people's intuitions. So like take the case of slavery, right? You'd obviously be skeptical of those intuitions, but again, those sorts of intuitions, the distinction would just be upon examining those intuitions and examining their entailments, right? So say if you had an intuition towards we shouldn't kill rapists, right? And then we examine those intuitions and we examine what the like act putting those intuitions out into the world and behaving as if those are moral laws. We see what those lead to. You'll notice that they lead to a lot of absurdity. So take the case of like racism again, right? Like if you asked a racist, oh yeah, if you were born black today, would you be okay with me cutting your head off and lynching you? Right? Most of them wouldn't be fine with that, right? So that would be a case of people's intuitions, right, not holding up upon scrutiny, right? But in the case of the intuitions I'm describing to you, where we should just value positive valences, right, and value their maximization, it doesn't seem as if they have any of those entailments, right?
okay,
Mhm.
so do you think that if there is an action which does not cause immediate mental suffering outside of simply violating bodily autonomy, is that right or wrong?
Uh, it doesn't cause any sort of negative valences, but it does violate your bodily autonomy. You said.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, I don't
So
think. Yeah, I don't think that action is wrong. So, like, if you take a case of, like, how do I explain this? Let's say I cut off your leg to save your life, right? And let's say that hurts you, or like that violates your body autonomy because you didn't really consent, like, to me cutting off your leg. Nobody would say me cutting off your leg to save your life is a bad thing, right? Even though it is
so
violating
let's
your body
say let's
autonomy.
say let's say
Mhm.
let's say let's say there's somebody who can like read your mind from afar, right?
Mhm.
And so they could just access any kind of information you have inside of your brain at will, and just like like
Mhm.
they could use it as blackmail in the future, all this stuff, but they're not doing that right now. All that they're doing
Mhm.
is reading your thoughts, so that they're
Mhm.
impeding upon your right to your own body.
Yeah,
Really actually essentially I feel like this example is more of a right to privacy, so this is actually
I
kind of a
mean,
non example,
I
but
don't.
I mean,
if
I'm sure you're familiar with like the violinist example, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar with those sorts of cases, but my issue is I don't think if somebody is like looking through my memories and then they never do anything bad with them, I don't care if you look through my memories, like unless it leads to some
Well,
negative
no,
consequence for me or like.
I'm not saying
Mhm.
that they're not going to. I'm just saying that they're not doing it right now.
Yeah, if they're
What if there
not
was like
doing it.
what if there was like a police officer spying on your thoughts and you're like a
Mhm.
massive drug dealer,
Yeah,
or you're like Edward Snowden and you're trying to like reveal good information to the people and they're actual people that are tracking everything that you're doing, and they
yeah,
just so happen to have access to your thoughts.
yeah, no, okay, those sorts of cases, then it's like sort of obvious that in those sorts of cases where you're doing good, somebody is spying on your thoughts, and by spying on your thoughts, they could impede you from doing good, right? Then them spying on your thoughts would be wrong. But if you're not doing good, or if you're like doing something entirely mundane, something that has no more value, like cooking, cooking an apple or something, and somebody is spying on your thoughts while you're doing that, I don't think that like the action of spying on somebody's thoughts alone is something that's wrong or right. Like I think it's entirely dependent on the sort of consequences it has. Right? Like
So, okay, so I'm gonna switch up the example real quick. I'm gonna switch it up. Um, what if I'm walking around,
mm-hmm,
um, with like an invisible spirit that's
mm-hmm,
just constantly sucking some of my nutrients out of my body, right? And it's just it's fatiguing me.
mm-hmm,
So it's essentially taking my life energy from me and dragging
mm-hmm,
me down to a lower state of being, which I would inherently not be at. I would be at a higher state of being than this.
mm-hmm.
Would
And
you
then
say that
you're
I would be in the wrong to like dissipate the spirit?
uh well it
Yo, what's
depends.
up?
Yeah, I'm debating gray on
You're
abortion,
debating
but it
abortion
depends.
right now, Pablo.
Yo,
Yeah. It depends. Does the spirit have anything I value? Like
I mean,
if
essentially, I mean, it could potentially.
I mean, if it is going to in future, and the thing I value is going to be more if if the spirit was allowed to take your nutrients compared to if it wasn't, then yeah, I would say you were in the wrong, right? So take for example,
But how could
it
you
is-
know?
I mean, well, those sorts of issues we can just say that there's a huge inductive case for it, right? Like so, for example, take the case of a child, right? Compared to a grown adult, children generally live longer lives than grown adults, right? Because they start their life later. So because of
What?
that, well, is that not obvious? Like children live longer
What do
than
you
adults.
mean?
That
Like they're gonna outlive them is what you mean?
yes, most of the time children outlive their parents.
Okay.
Yeah, and because of the fact that they are living their parents, that also means that they have more opportunity and they're likely going to have, right, more positive experiences than their parents are going to have, right?
I don't think that living longer entails having more positive experience.
Yeah,
Oh,
wait, it increases the
wait,
likelihood.
wait. I also don't think that I don't think that experience equates to good experience. First of all, and I
Yeah, yeah,
also
obviously,
don't
I'm
think
talking
that.
about good experiences specifically.
Yo,
Like,
well, I feel like that's a mass generalization though. Like you're kind of universalizing good experience for just experience.
yeah, I mean, well, I'll specify this time. So, look, unless you think suddenly, like, as people's lives are going on, right, they are gaining, or like, as children's lives are going on, they aren't living better lives than their parents at the current trajectory we're going under. That just doesn't seem to be true. Like, it seems as if the world is moving towards a more positive way or more positive direction than it is, but than it
What?
was before, right? Like, wait, hold on, that's like obviously true. Like, if you compare now compared to World War One, compare now compared to with times when slavery was like come around. Like it's just kind of obvious that we're living better lives than we were in the past, right?
Bro, what if nuclear bomb? Like, okay, I'm gonna use your case for possibility. What if nuclear bombs are dropped on the entire Earth and life is just ended,
Yeah,
except for save a few desolate people that are surviving on a
yeah. Well, I
radiation-filled
mean,
Earth?
obviously,
Experience
that's
isn't
possible,
always
right?
going to be I'm saying though, experience isn't always going to be better, and you're making it sound like just the act of living itself is going to be net like good utility. It's going to be some net positive utility whenever it's not.
No,
Experience is dragging, and it is a maze through which you find yourself. it is hard, and some people don't make it out. Some people genuinely kill themselves because they get so depressed trying to find the meaning of life.
Yeah, yeah, okay, I understand all of that, right? But all I'm saying is like typically, like, okay, maybe the bomb analogy you said, like maybe that would work if there was any actually, if there was a strong if there was a strong inductive case or there was strong evidence to say that that's the sort of trajectory that humanity was going under currently. But okay, cheers. But isn't it right? Like, there's no strong evidence to imply. There's no
I feel
strong
like that's
evidence
just a
to
relativity
imply
thing.
that, right?
I feel like that's just a moral relativity thing. You saying that, but like
Wait,
overall, I think
I
that like
mean,
continued
but is
experience
it?
for an individual does not inherently mean that it's good
Yeah,
experience,
yeah,
and same goes
obviously.
for the people around them.
Yeah, well, obviously, like it doesn't necessarily just because you have longer experiences doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have good experiences, but generally just raises the probability of you having good experiences, right? Like,
I don't think so. What about children that get sex trafficked their whole life?
yeah, well, that doesn't decrease the probability. Like, I'm
No, that
confused.
definitely does. Are they having a net
Wait,
positive experience doing that their whole lives? Like,
yeah, no, obviously, like, okay, look, wait, Gray, obviously, even though they are like, even though they are having, being sex trafficked currently, it's like if I give them an infinite amount of time in which they were alive,
they
you
don't
would
have
think,
an infinite amount
wait,
of time in which they are
yeah, yeah,
alive.
yeah,
That's what I'm
that's why I
saying.
say, that's why I say
There's a
hypothetical. But it's like,
finite.
if I give like a child an infinite amount of time to where in which they could be alive, do you not think that they are more likely to experience good things compared to somebody who's been alive for 2 seconds?
So it depends on what you mean by like. That's why I asked you what you mean by good experience earlier, because like it's very vague to just say,
Yeah,
will they
I don't
have
know.
good
Yeah,
experience?
yeah, I don't know
People
what
determine
that means.
people determine like goodness of experience differently. So like I personally wouldn't enjoy like, so I'm gonna use this Discord chat for example. I don't enjoy whenever people send their gay furry fucking lolly porn in this bitch. You know what I'm
Why?
saying? But some people fuck with that
Yeah,
because I'm
like,
not gay.
oh, okay, never mind. But look, it's like maybe you could, what's it called? Maybe you could define a quote unquote good experience as just pleasure, right? Like you could say a good experience is something that like releases the
Okay,
pleasure chemical in your brain.
okay, so do you think that it would be pleasurable for a mother to have a parasitic creature inside of her womb sucking all of her nutrients out of her
No, 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 no.
for
Look,
9 months?
just spoke about that. I'm saying before, like, look, in the case of a fetus, it's deprived of more pleasurable experiences or likely pleasurable experiences compared to the mother if it was to be aborted.
We
Like,
just had a conversation about how experience, just the probability of experiencing things, does not entail good experience itself.
well, yeah, yeah,
Like we
I
just talked about
understand
this.
that. That's why I specified good experience when I just said the sentence.
Yeah, but like you still haven't just like you're just saying that, and then whenever I ask you why does experience equal good,
Yeah,
just the act
no,
of being
that
born
isn't
does
the
not mean that you're
claim.
gonna have good experience.
Wait, that isn't the claim I'm making. So the claim I'm making isn't, look, okay, the claim I'm making isn't specifically just that because you have longer experiences, you were going to have good experiences, right? I'm not saying those two are identical. I'm saying, right, the longer you live, you have a higher likelihood of having better experiences. And the evidence for that is the example I'm about to give you, right? Which is literally just if you take a child who lives for 2 seconds and then you take yourself, right? Or you take another child who's going to live for 40 minutes, right? Which one of them is more probably going to have good experiences or pleasurable experiences? And the answer is the person who's lived longer, right?
What about the person? Okay. So if you think the person that has had the more positive experiences is the person that's lived longer, then what about
That's
the mother
going to
being
live
an
longer. Wait,
that's
that's going to
going
live longer.
that's going
Yeah.
okay. Can you justify to me that a fetus or that a child will always live a longer lifespan than the parent? What
Wait,
if the parent's net utility in their lifetime is just way higher
wait,
than the fetus's in
okay.
their lifetime?
That's just okay. Look, that's just asking me about the impossible, right? Like basically, what you're doing here is you're just telling me, oh yeah, well, look, in a case in which all of the reasons why abortion is wrong was removed, would abortion still be wrong? And the answer is like no. Like obviously, if you
You're
take
saying the
away,
same exact thing for your case, though.
no,
That's what I'm
no,
trying to show you is that
wait,
anything that you're saying, I could literally just say it back to you and be like, yeah,
wait,
well, it's
no,
possibly this case as well.
yeah,
That's why I'm
this the
saying that I affirm the
distinction.
actual experience of the mother is way more valuable than the possible good experience of the child because it's
Wait,
also
mhm.
possible bad experience.
Yeah, so the distinction there is quite simple. Okay, anyways, but the distinction there is quite simple, and it's just that one of them we have a strong inductive case and the other one we don't.
The other one has the same exact inductive case. There are children all across the world that do not enjoy their lives. Think about the children inside of
Yeah,
Gaza right now.
obviously.
They do not enjoy their lives at all.
Yeah,
At
but
all.
that doesn't affect the inductive case. The inductive case is specifically just
Yes,
that
it
the long
does.
wait, hold on. The inductive case is simply just that the longer you live, the more probability you have to have good experiences.
The longer you do you know that most mathematicians, right? I'm just going to use this as like a mental activity example. Most mathematicians and logicians that like study their topics to great degrees of rigor, they
Hmm.
go insane. They genuinely start to lose their shit.
What does that have to do with the probability that I just told you?
So they're living longer and their mental status is declining.
Yes, okay. I can grant. Look, I can grant that in extraordinary cases, right? The longer
What
you
about people
live,
with dementia?
wait,
That's
wait,
not
wait,
extraordinary.
hold on. I can grant that in some extraordinary cases, the longer you live, sometimes you can have way more negative experiences than positive ones. That's fine. I didn't deny that. What we're saying is typically, though, right, for the average case and the average person, the longer they live, the longer they like more opportunities they have to have positive experiences compared to negative ones, right?
Do you want me to look up the stats for people getting dementia? The
No.
average person will get dementia if they live long enough. Did you know
What
that
does
the
that
average
have to
human
do with
being?
having, wait, do you think getting dementia suddenly gives you more negative or gives you like some displeasurable experiences compared
Yes,
to like
yes, it does. You start
why?
to lose your memory and you start to forget the people around you. I've
Yeah,
like, bro,
yeah, okay, maybe. Hmm.
one of my family members have had dementia. I've seen it firsthand. It's not
Hmm.
fucking pretty.
No,
They
no, no,
start to
no,
forget
wait,
who you
okay,
are, and it's a sad thing. It's a
wait.
genuinely sad fucking thing.
I'm going to specify the question so that you understand. So, like, I can grant that maybe for the exact, like, maybe for the people around them, they may gain more negative experiences. I'm
No, it's
talking.
sad for them as
Wait,
well, bro.
yeah,
My
I
uncle was
don't know.
crying because
Yeah.
he could not
Mhm.
recognize his son.
I have no clue.
Do you
Do you
think
have
that's
like
not
a stat for
depressing to
that?
him?
Do you have a stat for that?
What?
Or wait, no, do you
I
have a
have the personal experience from my bro. Are no way you're
what?
fucking saying this right
Wait,
now.
wait, hold
No
on.
way you're
Okay,
actually saying this
okay.
shit.
My great uncle also had dementia. He became happier because he got a new wife. Right. And then after he got a new wife, he got a new family. Right. And he liked his new family more than he liked his original one. Right. So
How
after
would he
getting
know
dementia, he
that?
got
Because he
happier.
didn't remember his old family.
Wait,
What you're
yeah, so
describing is a
you can
sad
just
case. This is
wait, you can
genuinely
just wait,
depressing.
hold
Weren't
on.
you
You
the
can just
one that before this said you wanted to engage in a good faith discussion because you wanted to get good sleep?
hold on. So, look, I'm trying to explain to you how the analogy you're giving me, or like the anecdote you're giving me, goes both ways, right? Like, you can say the guy before, we can analyze his behavior, right? And then you can analyze his behavior after he forgets his entire family. And we can see that he's going happy after he forgot them, right?
How would he be happier after he forgot them if he just doesn't even
Because he gets a new
you
life.
don't know you I'm saying that you don't know who they are. You forget your old life and you have like
Exactly.
it's like a new timeline. It's like being born again. Like you understand that, right? You literally lose everything that
Oh
was
my
bringing
God.
you happiness before and you have to
Yes.
rebuild into something new. How is
Yes.
that net utility positive if you lose everything that you loved before and you have to restart to rebuild?
Yeah, okay, look. So specifically, if we're talking about comparison between negative experiences and pleasure, if I forget everything that I've experienced before
There's
and I
no way you're
suddenly
arguing
experience,
this.
wait, hold on, and I experience more pleasure afterward, right? It's like trivially true that then I'd be happier than before and I'd have get better experiences. But I don't
It's
even
not
think,
trivially true that you'd be happier than before.
chill out,
It's
chill out. I
trivially
don't
true
even
that you
think,
would just be happy because you
wait,
don't have the experience of those people before.
hold on. But I don't even think, I don't even think this type of thing even matters, right? Like, if we're talking about,
What?
I'm trying to explain. I don't even think this type of thing even matters unless you have like some sort form of statistic that you have, right, where it just shows that most people, right, most people, whenever they live, they go on to have dementia and only have dementia. Through that dementia, they experience more negative experiences than they do positive ones. Then maybe we can have this argument, but you don't have that type of statistic.
Bro, there's literally no way that you're arguing this. Bro, all right, bet. I got you. I got you.
Hmm. Go ahead.
I'll pull up some health statistics.
Sure.
Oh, did you know that dementia leads to death, by the way?
No clue.
All right, bet I'll pull that up for you. That's definitely a net negative in utility.
No, hide, not ma.
Shut your bitch ass up, Shinra.
Okay, cheers. Moo.
Oh, haha! It's High Cockmouth. How are you doing, man?
That's
Your
crazy.
name is Apollo.
Bro, I love you, man. You're a goat.
You're a goat too.
Okay, bro.
Goat.
Also, Gray, if you can't find the statistic, then we can talk about something else before I leave.
In 2017, a total of 260. Here, I'll just send you the link. It's the CDC.
Okay.
How
You can
much
go on ahead
longer
and
you
read that
got?
for the
Y'all
year
got a recording
totalities.
bot in here? Cause I'm about to stop the rec.
Yeah, we do.
All right, bet.
Give me a second. Let me pull this shit up. Nice IP grabber. Mortality rate due to dementia. Data for